Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
So we have Dani with us today. Hey, Dani, welcome back.
Hey, it's great to be with you guys. This is my first streaming, and it's so cool to be with you. Such a great team. Amazing. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, well, we miss you. Our students miss you.
I missed a lot you two guys.
Good. So tell us a bit about what you've been up to since you departed.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of music since, isolation brings you more in the studio. And here, this is my studio. I have a few equipment. I've been doing pop, mainly pop music productions, virtual ones, of course, remotely, and a lot of lessons online, a lot of fun. It's a great way, to show how you work with your equipment, so you can finally show all the guitars you said you have, right? To show that it's real. You really have like 10 guitars.
Have you got that green Marshall amp that you kept showing me pictures of?
It's in the other room, but I can give you, guys, a little quick.
Let's have a tour. Let's have a tour.
It's just this room is the smallest one.
He's not even giving us our best or his best.
So let's see. This is a special edition Fender Junior. Very cool. Dense speaker. Sounds pretty tiny, but the sound is really huge. Then some 335, 50 years old guitar. I'll show you it. I'll show the guitar properly. Then the digital audio workstation. Very British amp. And lots of pedals here.
Excellent.
Wow.
Yeah, this is my little display. Yeah.
I've got that stage tuner. That little silver one on the right. Is that stage?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess to kind of, whilst we're on the topic, tell us about a few of your favorite pedals, then, please, Dani.
Yeah, actually, my favorite pedal right now is the legendary Big Muff New York pedal. I just need to put this properly on the stand.
Sorry, I've totally put you on the spot here.
All right, okay. Here you go. I'll show you. Yeah, just need to safely put this back. Cool. Here we go. So far, this is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yes. And
the
what kind of stuff do you play with that?
Actually, I'm pretty surprised because I can play from Jimi Hendrix, like really the real Jimi Hendrix, up to alternative rock like Smashing Pumpkins, Foo Fighters, that kind of stuff. It's pretty versatile, really.
Yeah, so I believe Spike is watching now. So Spike, if you wanted to do some Jimi Hendrix, one day get a Big Muff pedal. They sound cool. They sound really cool.
Yeah, and Jimmy, just to finish, I'll show you one of my favorite guitar. You asked me about my favorite pedal. I'll tell you about one of my favorite guitar. This one.
Hey, what's that?
Yeah, it's a Mustang Italian guitar.
Very nice.
Green.
Very nice.
My favorite color.
Yeah, lovely colour.
Like 50 years old.
Being a guitar, that's the main thing I look for in a guitar.
No, I'm the same.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think that's all.
Fantastic. So I don't know, Spike or anyone else, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments in the Facebook chat, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Awesome. Cool. So,
So Jimmy, you had a chord to show us this week. You had
you
had a little chord hack.
my chord of the week.
Yeah.
It sounds scary, but it's not, I promise. It's one of those jazzy sounding chords that
Nice.
you all hate me for. But let's have a little look at it. So my chord of the week is a B minor 11 chord. Sounds scary, but it's not, I promise you. And it's a really nice way of getting around if you don't want to do a bar chord. So I use my second and third finger. So I put my second finger on the second fret of the A string. And then I put my third finger on the second fret of the G string, or string number 3. So second fret on both string 5 and string 3, or the A string and the G string. And I strum from string 5 to string 2, or A string to the open B. Yeah, so we get that chord.
Yeah, that's a lovely sounding chord.
That's a lovely sounding chord. So if you've ever got something where you're like, oh, I can't quite get that B minor, but I want to do something rather than be silent for a bar, throw that guy in. Yeah. So a little example in context would be if I'm going from, this is an A major 7, but we're going from A to D, for example, I would throw it in like this. Yeah, so that's my chord of the week. Pretty sure I can drop that as a file into the comments or something. So
yeah, it's a good. I find when I'm teaching songs that people want to learn, if there's a song that only has one bar chord in, it's always B minor. So that's a good one for anyone who hasn't had any, who doesn't know their bar chords yet. I wonder how it'd fit in. Ziggy, I've been doing Ziggy Stardust recently, and the second chord is B minor. Yeah, cool. Yeah, very good, like that.
Yeah. B minor hex.
That's often the first bar chord, isn't it, that people kind of have to learn, because once you've exhausted all of the songs that you can play using open chords, that's the next step. So yeah, that's a good one to learn. Thank you, Jimmy. Very good.
Got it. Dani or Mike, have you got any chords that you'd recommend?
Chords.
Ooh.
The minor 11 is one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
I mean, all the chords, are great. Maybe one that I really like is the major with sharp fourth.
Spicy.
You jazzy man.
Very Lydian. Very mysterious.
A very mysterious chord. So if we, to give that a bit of context, if we were playing in the key of C major, we could use an F major chord with a sharp 4. And if we count up from F, we'd have F, G, A, and B. Yeah. So the B would have to be raised to semitone. So we'd have C really as our sharp 4, but really B sharp. But yeah. But cool sounding thing.
To use, yes.
So yeah, sounding cool. Sounding really cool. Mike, anything from you? Any chords you like?
I always like any kind of diminished chord between if you got a chord progression. That's just an A minor to a C. If you put something in between, so the note in between is going to be a B, and just do a diminished chord before you jump into it, like that. I like these kind of passing chords.
Ooh. We should totally do a chord course at some point. This is not relevant, but I'm totally going to say it because it's popped into my head. But I had a little light bulb moment with diminished chords, and I feel like I should have known this, but I just didn't. But any true diminished, so diminished 7th chord, you raise any note, lower any note by a semitone, you get a dominant chord. It's a dominant 7, any single note in the chord. So now I'm going to do that, and then down to that one, dominant 7, dominant 7, dominant 7.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, this is probably too much. So, but yeah, I will pop my B minor 11 chord in as a file so you guys can see it, because it is a very useful one if you don't want to if you don't want to use the bar chord, basically. So, sounded good. Sounded good.
You blow my mind.
Always.
Yeah. All I have to do now is spend the next 3 hours actually figuring out which dominant chord it goes to each finger.
Well, I believe in you. I believe in you.
You know,
So,
a nice point, Jimmy. We can add, if I can add, a nice point on about the dominant chord, diminished chord is that you can just play the scale or the arpeggio on a dominant chord, on a classic dominant chord, so you can see it more in a melodic way. So if you have a dominant C7, you know, you can do the C sharp diminished or just the scale. You can create some very interesting alteration.
you are literally a wizard.
You just borrow Mike's hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, that sounds cool, Danny. That sounds really cool. So tell us, have you got any musical projects on the go? Not necessarily teaching, anything that you're playing in, anything you're involved with?
To me, Jimmy, sorry.
Yeah, anything that you're...
I'm just doing a lot of studio work here with my Logic getting always fuller and fuller with lots of plugins. There's no end to that. So I just bought these, you know, the Akai mini keyboards with drum pads, play some nice drum machines, synthesizers, and I'm working now with a couple of guys from Los Angeles.
Excellent.
Yeah, one is, yeah. So we basically put kind of a virtual studio. So me from London, then we have this bass player from Benjamin Sturley from Los Angeles, and another guy, Jordan McQueen. Okay, yeah, Jordan McQueen from Toronto, actually, on drums. And we offer music productions online. You know, nowadays everything is online. So we have a few pages. We have a few web pages, and people contact us by them, and we do music production.
I think I saw one of your videos actually. It sounds with you doing some shredding. I'll post that in the chat afterwards.
Thanks so much. Great.
Because it was really cool to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember this. First, Dani.
That was just a quick demo, you know, just to put something on the webpage. We will put more stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds cool.
That's really cool that you guys are still able to do some stuff. I think everyone's having to be really creative, even more than usual at the moment, aren't they? You know, because we can only really do stuff online. So yeah, that's awesome.
So just for those of you watching that don't know Dani is an amazing guitar player and a fantastic teacher. So if you've got any questions at all, any level, he is absolutely the person to kind of ask, because he explained things in a way that I feel like sometimes I can't, because I know I waffle a lot. Sorry guys. But so honestly, if you've got any questions, just post them in the chat and we'll make sure that we can get Dani's take on it too, because he's such a fantastic teacher.
Very kind, Jimmy. Thank you.
Well,
Cool.
thank you for teaching me stuff.
And you too. Thanks to you too.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, one thing that Mike brought up before we went live was, which I think is going to be relevant to anyone really, because hopefully we're all going to get to this point, but anyone sort of junior 2, junior 3, was the muting or accenting on beats 2 and 4, and I know that this is something, I think, is it junior 3 where there's the AC/DC song?
Yeah, TNT is junior 3, yeah.
So that, and in fact, a lot of AC/DC stuff is very much does this kind of thing where they don't play on those beats. It's quite a kind of classic rock thing, I think, isn't it? Where you sort of it's basically where, if you're listening to the record, where you hear the snare drum hit. And I think as guitar players, it's really useful, particularly if we want to be playing in bands and things like that, which hopefully some of us will want to do at some point, even though we can't do it now because it's awesome, so much fun. You really have to kind of listen to what the other instruments are doing as much as your own instrument, because obviously when you're playing as a band, you're part of a unit. So it's really, really important to be kind of tuned in to what everyone else is doing. So Mike, do you want to talk about that a little bit and maybe put it in context with that AC/DC song you were talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that. So it's I've been thinking about this kind of topic for a really, really long time. I think it's because of at the beginning of the year, I recorded an album with my band, and then it's so I did loads of rehearsal previous to that, and it was around that time, around about this time last year, that I really started thinking for the first time about where I actually finished the things I'm playing. So I was always thinking about practicing to a metronome and doing my riffs to a metronome, and always really caring about the notes, when the notes start. And I didn't realize when I started listening back to early demos, I'm like touching the guitar a lot. Just when I bring my hand back to then go and play something else. And over like a few weeks, I really started thinking about actually every time I come back to the strings, or every time I bring my hand to close the strings here, or any kind of move, I want it on the beat. I want any movement I do physically to be on the beat, and then all of a sudden all the things in between, these things, it just starts syncing up with all the things that the rest of the band are doing, especially on the drums. And then I was thinking about this again the last couple of weeks because of it happens in Ziggy Stardust, which I've been doing in a bunch of classes, and also in AC/DC TNT, which I've been doing with the junior threes, but other classes as well. And they do a breakdown of the rhythm, just to like a low E string, that kind of thing. And it really became, it was this thing again of actually thinking about what the drums do. Because in most rock songs and most songs really, I would say the snare drum is on beats 2 and 4. So if this is a bass drum and this is a snare drum, it's just kind of the basic drum pattern which everything is built around is bass, snare, bass, snare. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So beats 2 and 4 have a snare drum. And in the AC/DC song and Ziggy Stardust and lots of things I was thinking about is actually ending your note on that second beat. So on that second beat, that's where it ends. And on beat 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That kind of thing. And it's, for me, it's these subtle differences that is the reason why AC/DC are playing to stadiums full of hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of people, and there's so many bands who aren't, because of when you start looking at all the riffs we do, like the one string riffs and everything, it's the same notes over and over and over and over again. What makes them special is the rhythm and how they're played. And
yeah, absolutely.
And really, as soon as you start thinking about it and start doing it, when you're with a band and the drummer, it just feels so much better. You feel like a professional musician instead of just some people who are jamming around together.
Yeah, because everybody's in sync, and I think this is one of those things that I don't know about you guys, but you don't really notice it until you notice it, if that makes sense. So it's the kind of thing that you find yourself, because you hear it so much, even though you don't really realize that you're hearing it. And then when you start playing, when you start playing other people's songs, you naturally do it because you're trying to emulate what's going on the track. But then when you start writing your own songs, because that's so ingrained, you start doing that anyway, just because it's become like a habit. But yeah, that's a really good good point. Jimmy or Danny, did you guys have any thoughts on that?
I can just add Sorry, Jimmy, what did you say?
First off, Mike, you've been requested to send a link to your band, which, yes, so people can listen. The people want to hear. I guess, yeah, with the 2 and 4 thing, it's really important rhythmic placement, but I guess to a slightly earlier point you made, something that I was told to do when I was studying under a very renowned jazz guitar player was always in a rehearsal, just look at the snare drum and fixate on it and just like kind of get the 2 and 4, 2 and 4. It's first off, if you're just staring at your guitar neck in a rehearsal, it doesn't look very good. But second of all, it really helps you, you know, kind of stop being, you know, by yourself and you really integrate with the musicians around you. So kind of, you know, that 2 and 4 kind of consistency is really important for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Dani, what have you got on there?
Yeah, I can add, you know, the 2 and 4, you know, if they are the basement, the rhythmic basement of the full contemporary and modern music, and it's probably one of the difference between the older, you know, European classical music that actually they had more strict accent on the, for example, the first beat. The jazz music brought us this very cool accent on 2 and 4 and makes everything very swinging, and it gives a lot of drive to the song. You know, when you play something from old style jazz to normal strumming. So, you know, you can really make the song dance.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and what you're doing there is that kind of playing like the bass note on the 1 and the 3, and then accenting the chords on the 2 and the 4, and that's really, really common as well, especially in jazz.
But outside of jazz as well, even if we take beats 2 and 4, for example, and emphasize them, say we're just playing on a C chord, if we're playing all 8th notes, just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so this is kind of, I guess, yeah, you can do it from junior 1 onwards, really. 2 and 3 and 4, and as soon as we start emphasizing those 2 and 4 beats, it doesn't sound like an exercise anymore, and it sounds like music. Like, it's such a huge difference, and it's a very subtle change, and it's really what kind of makes music for me, is just kind of those little kind of small details that kind of really make a song sound amazing.
Yeah,
That's it, isn't it? I've seen so many players before, not just guitar players, but all types of instrument players. And every now and again, you see someone who doesn't do anything extraordinary. They never do any crazy solos or anything that looks particularly difficult. But you just look at them and you think, wow, you are absolutely incredible. And you can't really put your finger on it. Why? But it's all these kind of things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Rhythm.
Absolutely. I was going to say something, I've forgotten now. I was going to say, yeah, this is the kind of thing as well that you only really realise once you start playing in a band or you start playing with other people. And, you know, as much as the G4 method or any method of learning to play an instrument, and we talked a little bit about this last week as well, it's great for learning the skills, it's great for learning all the tools you need, but this kind of thing, I mean, all that stuff we just talked about, I don't remember anyone ever teaching me that. You know, that stuff that you just kind of naturally end up doing. So that's one of the reasons why in normal times I like to encourage people to play together, play with other people, you know, whether it's just a friend or, you know, or joining a band or jamming with some of our other students, because that's the kind of thing that you can't really do so much, you know, just from getting like step-by-step lessons. You have to really start playing and interacting with other musicians to be able to do that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
cool. Okay, Dani, we've got 5 minutes, and I know there was that you had some kind of exercises and things that you wanted to
Yeah,
Let's
let's think of it just like an inspiration. You know, sometimes the daily practice can be a little boring. You know, especially when we are preparing for an exam. You know, we sometimes students just practice skills like, wow, so boring, right? It's really boring, right? So sometimes I really suggest to use you know, to have fun with the scale, because if you don't have fun, you will not speak with that scale. You will not use it, and so you will maybe learn it, memorize it for 1 week, maybe 2, and then it will be gone. So doing like very basic mechanical techniques like quadruplets, triplets, intervals can seem kind of only mechanical, but if you mix them on a backing track, it will be, you know, very, very a nice practice. Something like you can practice alone the quadruplets, so you get very, very good with the scale with those.
This is something I've been teaching my kids this week. Yes, carry on.
Then with the triplets, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So every 3, basically, triplets are group of 3 notes in a beat. Quadruplets are group of 4 notes in a beat. You can do some more interesting patterns, kind of more jazzy intervals on the scale. I'm using a very basic scale, the minor pentatonic, kind of a little more rock. You know, now if you play the full scale with this technique, those are great exercises. You really get stronger, faster if you practice with the metronome. But they are not only exercise, so you are very good and you will get a nice mark at the exam. If you write like practice, just a second, sorry. If you practice just on a couple of chords that you can record, and you can just go on YouTube and you can record something. Okay, so we have a loop here. I'm gonna just try to mix those 3 techniques. Again, quadruplets, triplets, and some intervals. Everything can get very creative, very interesting, especially if you finish, you know, with a super cool vibrato, amazing bending, you know, something very, very cool to finish with. So let's here go. And just double the speed, so normal beat. You can just finish more melodically. You know, this is just a great method. Rock is a lot about speed, you know, energy. So if you just learn quadruplets, triplets, and you are able to switch between them with a little speed, you know, it sounds very, very cool. In the end, it's like, can I say it? It's like 60, 70% of what Slash does, you know? So it's just a lot of speed.
Yeah.
Excellent. And what pentatonic scale were you using there?
I was using just was it the C sharp? Yes, C sharp.
Cool. So just for the kids, if they want to, you know, kind of get there and figure out some of the things that you were doing.
Yeah, if you do it for too long, it may be a little boring. But if you can switch for the other pattern and then again the other pattern, a final vibrato, that sounds like a great solo to me, great rock solo, right?
Yeah, definitely. And we were, and it was really nice to see you demonstrate that. And did you literally just put that backing track together on the fly, by the way?
Yeah, I just forgot.
That's amazing. I was like, is that happening?
Yeah, just Logic Pro. Yeah.
Yeah, no, great. So yeah, we were talking about that a little bit last week as well. How, you know, often practicing scales is boring, and you're right, it is boring when you're just going just up and down, But if you can do something like that along to a backing track and do some of the things that you were doing there, playing the notes in different orders, playing them in triplets, you know, things like that, you're absolutely right. That's what a lot of solos are, you know, essentially. You know, just people playing the notes from the scales in different orders, and then all of a sudden you know, you're not doing much different, but it sounds really cool because you're playing along to a backing track and just playing those notes in some slightly different orders. So yeah.
So for those of you on the G4 method, basically every single exercise before the main scale is one of these kinds of sequences that Dani was demonstrating. I don't think it's until senior 3 you get to triplets, but that's something we can look at. But if you're not on the G4, if you're doing the CGT stuff, or if you're on the G4, I have some sheets anyway on like grouping pentatonic scales into kind of notes as Dani just demonstrated. So again, I can pop that in as a file for you guys if you want that. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, so we've had a few more people join, but not so many questions this week, apart from Mike sending your link, your band link.
Okay.
So, yeah, Mike's band are awesome. I've seen that. I'm really looking forward to going to see Mike's band when we can do those kind of things again, because they're really
me too, especially as it's much more work now. I was just telling Jimmy before everyone joined, we've been asked to do kind of like live shows that you put together, and I did one for this week coming, and it took 25 hours to put together. Like we're filming everyone.
You've got to pre-record everything.
Yeah, and like cut it together. I don't know how to edit anything, so I can't wait till you just turn up at a gig and play it live, and that's enough.
Yeah, half an hour and you're done.
Yeah.
Get to have a beer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Speaking of which, I think we're gonna stop this chat now. Thank you for everybody who's joined. You will be able to watch this back again in the chat, and I'm gonna upload it to YouTube as well and email it out to everybody who's not on Facebook, so you guys can watch it too. But hopefully there was some useful stuff there for everybody. Did any of you guys want to finish with anything?
I want Dani to play us out with something really cool. just 30 seconds of just like blowing our minds, please.
So what kind of style?
For the kids, cool rock shred, absolute shred.
From the students.
Absolute shred.
Wednesday evening.
Think of the students that you've left behind and how you want them to, for me to be like, you still need to practice.
Give me 20 seconds to find a kind of a very good backing track for that. Just quickly.
I'm so excited.
Let me add something. Go on. Just a little.
Very nice. We could hit most of that as well.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Dani. It's been lovely to have you.
Watch it back. Don't worry. We're gonna leave it there, and I think we're all gonna have a little beer together now, aren't we?
Sounds good. All right. Peace out, Facebook.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.